Let's see, we ran a story, I believe, right before the top of the hour, and it had to do with fireworks safety. We're going to talk about it where we live, and because that's, as we said to my guest and I, as we exchanged words as we came in, this is like a tradition now for 4th of July. Dr. Jeffrey Litt, who is from MU Healthcare, and as your T-shirt shows, trauma, or your polo shirt, trauma center. So you're there where you see the worst of the accidents.
Yes, we do, and we do see probably about a dozen or so fireworks-related injuries a year, maybe another half dozen or so flame-related injuries, people having bonfires or otherwise having fun and being injured in that aspect. We admit several of them every time we see them every year, and we've had to operate on a handful as well, needing skin grafts and more serious operations.
So far this year, you told me off the air, you've not had any direct firework-related injuries yet.
Not yet.
But you will.
Oh, I have little doubts.
So will they mostly be to the hand?
So of the, say, 15,000 or so fireworks-related injuries across the United States, probably about two-thirds are either to the face, to the hands, or to the eyes.
Is there, and some of these questions I know I've asked you before, but we got to talk to an audience that some have not heard these messages before. Of the fireworks, when someone comes in and it's a firework-related injury, in the process of working with them, do you learn what type firework it was that caused the problem?
To some degree. I mean, there may be some specifications with which I'm unfamiliar and wouldn't even know how to ask that question. But they're divided mainly between the pyrotechnic ones and the bottle rockets and so on, or the handheld sparklers.
Sparklers, I don't understand how sparklers. I grew up in an extremely cautious family. I mean, we had strict rules about what we could do and what we couldn't do, and most of the shooting off anything that needed a fuse for the longest time was only done by my dad.
And that is a great piece of advice for everyone. Don't let children light fireworks. Don't let children handle fireworks, particularly the pyrotechnic-related fireworks. And don't let them go around and pick up the sort of spent ones or the duds, because you don't know that the dud's not going to explode. I have a feeling, and I don't know data on this, that firework production safety has improved over the last 1 or 2 decades. But there's a whole lot more of them, and I think that there's no way to make them 100% safe and still have them be what they are, which is devices that explode.
One of the things they did let us handle was sparklers.
Yes.
So do kids grab a hold of the hot side of the sparkler, or do they use them as tools to intimidate somebody else that is with them, or what?
I think they play, and they and their parents are less familiar with exactly how dangerous a sparkler can be. The sparklers can burn upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 degrees, about as hot as a blowtorch, causes potentially an instantaneous third-degree burn that sometimes requires surgery, and it's in tricky situations because kids are holding onto these, and I think they're just playing with them, and they may point them at each other or, I don't know, pretend to sword fight or whatever it is that children do. Children are on the erratic side themselves, being a father of 2 erratic children. And you just don't know, A, what the firework's going to do or what the child's going to do with the fireworks. So to try to reduce that variability, and that variability is a direct consequence of getting an injury, don't let children play with really anything. I mean, it's tough for me to say don't let your kids play with sparklers. I've got kids. They have in the past played with sparklers in spite of my knowledge of some of this. But there's always been an adult watching, several adults watching, actually. Whenever we have done fireworks, or either on our block or with other friends, there's been a designated lighter. All the other parents are watching out. So we try to minimize that amount of variability and erraticness that both the child as well as the fireworks can display.
Well, that's perfect advice. I mean, because you know that some of these things, it's kind of like a rites of passage that you do with some of this.
And I did it too. I can't. It is a fun time of the year, but you have to realize that these fireworks get upwards of 2,000 degrees, instantaneous burn, and you don't know what they're going to do, and you don't know what the kids are necessarily going to do. So you got to keep hawk-eyed vision on them.
Are these burns kind of isolated? I mean, is a sparkler burn isolated? I
Typically.
don't know. But
Yeah, I've seen one or two where people have tried to either scrape all the sparkler stuff off and light it, or hold a bunch of them at once because they thought it would be
that would be cool.
And
I'd just multiply the sparkles.
right, but it also multiplies the heat, and it goes really so much quicker than your reflexes can react to. Even professional athletes can't react that quickly. I remember there was the NFL player a couple of years ago who blew off most of his hand from the Giants.
I can't remember his name.
Jason Pierre-Paul. And he blew off most of his hand, and he is a professional athlete at the height of his physical prowess, and he couldn't move fast enough to do that. So.
I don't know the details about that, but you're also talking about when 4th of July comes, a time when some people imbibe in alcohol, and that would even slow down their reactions more and their means of discerning what is safe and not safe.
Yeah, so people drinking should not be handling fireworks at all. Not that you can't have a good time and enjoy an adult beverage while watching fireworks, which is what these great shows are about, like Fire in the Sky here in Columbia or other fantastic public fireworks. They're done very safely. Everyone is kept at a very safe distance, and they're nicer and more beautiful and more colorful than anything that you can buy on your own.
And from my cheap background, they're free. So
there's that as well. You bring a long chair, you
pay for it.
Bring a beer, and you're set.
I have a phone line blinking at me, Dr. Litt, so if you don't mind, we'll see if this is a question or comment. Caller, you there?
Yes. Hi, David. I just wanted to let you know another problem with fireworks. I had a friend whose daughter ended up in the hospital because her dress caught fire at a wedding because of the sparklers. The sparks had flown off onto her dress and caught her dress on fire. So that's just another thing. If your clothes are flammable, that's just another thing for parents to look out for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you called, Cindy. Thank you.
Yeah. Whoever is lighting the fireworks should not be wearing loose, baggy clothing at all. Clearly, I mean, all clothes are flammable to some degree, but the people near the fireworks should not be wearing something that would be easy to catch a light and you wouldn't notice necessarily until it was burning.
Curiosity question. When a child is experiencing some kind of traumatic injury, like a fireworks injury or falls off of an ATV or something else, are they taken to the trauma center at the MU healthcare location or to Women's and Children's Hospital?
Oftentimes, they're initially brought over to the Women and Children's, but we transfer over to the trauma center if that is necessary.
Yeah, I just wondered.
And that could be, again, falling off an ATV or being involved in a car crash as a belted passenger or playing with fireworks or any number of things. Even just getting a quick little cut is sometimes handled by us over at the trauma center, and that's the difference. The trauma center is in the adult hospital.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was just wondering.
Staff at the Children's Hospital is very capable staff, and they're capable of handling all sorts of emergencies, but we are a designated, well-trained trauma center, and the vagaries of trauma care are sometimes a little bit more difficult for non-trauma centers to be able to identify and treat.
I think you've emphasized very good things today. Adult supervision, if you are going to have children that are playing with sparklers or other fireworks, let the adults light them. Make sure it's a responsible adult who hasn't been perhaps decreasing her or his ability to make good decisions because of anything that they have ingested. I don't know what else to say. Doctor, anything else you want to leave us with?
Minor burns, you can cool off with a little bit of cool water. Don't use cold. Don't use ice. Ice feels good, but it could actually perpetuate some damage by reducing the amount of blood flow that gets to an area that to heal needs blood flow.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Don't use homemade remedies to put on. Don't put butter on your burn or grandma's poultice or anything like that. If you need to put something on, just a clean, dry dressing is sufficient. If you need further assistance, MU is open all of 4th of July. We've got our emergency center. We also have a clinic that we take care of burns both before and after the 4th of July.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it won't be the clinic itself won't be open on 4th of July, but we have clinic hours every other day of the week, and we see burns of all sorts anytime in our clinic.
Are people really good about making that decision as when and when not to bring somebody into an emergency room or a trauma center?
If there's doubts, bring them.
Yeah.
Particularly burns, again, on these sort of really specialized areas like the hands, like the wrists, like the face, that if they heal wrong, it could have lifelong consequences.
Mm-hmm. I hope you're not busy over the 4th of July. I'm glad you haven't had any over this prior weekend, and that would be things that are directly connected to firework injuries. But again, I think we're all probably not under the illusion that you won't have some.
Hope in the breast, hope springs eternal. But I'm not anticipating a slow week.
Doctor, thank you for visiting with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take to heart what Dr. Jeffrey Litt has said from MU Healthcare and the Trauma Center there. It's News Talk 1400 KFRU.